Host. Present. Arms.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Order. Arms. Host. Right. Face. Forward. March.
On behalf of the board, we certainly would like to thank our ROTC for being here and to support and do diligence to our people that have served our country and have done service within our community. And we appreciate the young people taking time out of their schedule to be here with us. Do we have a sign-up list back there for someone that wanted to speak? Roll call, please.
Okay. Al?
Present.
Teresa?
Present.
Michelle?
Here.
Kate?
Here.
Gladys?
Here.
Dr. Cronin?
Here.
Lauren here. Juanita?
Here.
Rich Polly?
Here.
Rich Janelli?
Here.
And Louisa?
Here. Thank you all. We have 11 board members present tonight, and it's good to see Dr. Cronin back with us. Thank you. We're going to move on down our agenda. At this time, we're going to have a recognition, spotlight your school, Mill Ridge Primary.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm excited to be here tonight to spotlight Mill Ridge Primary. And sitting behind me is exactly what I wanted to spotlight to you the most. So if you work at Mill Ridge Primary, if you could please stand up for a second. So the room is filled tonight with people who make our school great. People who love our school, are dedicated, and are so proud to highlight it that they came out at 7 o'clock on a Wednesday night. And we are excited to show you tonight what makes us special. So my name is Michelle Tarsi. I'm the principal at Mill Ridge Primary. And I became the new leader of this school right in the heart of a pandemic. And this night is not about me, but I just say that because in the early days at my school, my job was to make sure we stayed apart from each other, to make sure we had shields between us, to make sure nobody came inside, to make sure families stayed out. And so the moment that we were able to come back together, I wanted nothing more than to build our community back to what it was before I started there. Over the last few years, a large focus of ours has been to bring us all back together. So together, we've created opportunities to bring our staff together, professionally and personally. We've developed ways to bring our whole school community together. We've helped to bring our families back into our building and helped to reconnect with our community. MRP is a really special place, and we have a lot of things worth spotlighting. I could not reasonably fit it all into a 5-minute video. The first time I recorded it, it was 10. So I encourage you to come visit us and see for yourself what makes us special. But tonight we need a video to show you the magic that happens in our school every day. Did you know that Mill Ridge Primary is one of Danbury's only 2 primary schools?
Here's a sneak peek into what makes our school so special.
Our school is home to 352 students in kindergarten to grade 3. 106 of those students are multilingual learners. They are all supported by a highly skilled team of certified staff members and support professionals.
We are greeted by happy and smiling faces every day.
Our amazing staff makes learning happen and they create awesome memories too.
Collectively, our staff has over 550 years of service to the Danbury Public Schools, some with more than 35 years.
When you walk in the doors of MRP, you will see our Bulldog core values that we developed together. Bulldogs are
Safe, respectful, responsible, kind, and hardworking.
Our students state our Bulldog chant daily, and we all hold ourselves accountable for following our values. Watch as we say and sign it together.
Each month we have a Bulldog family meeting.
Where we talk about what our values look like and sound like in action. We also celebrate students who have shown our core value of the month and those who have been working hard to make academic growth.
Sometimes we get special visitors at our Bulldog meetings as well.
Our school has a high level of family engagement, which is supported by a strong PTO. We come together for events like trunk or treat, movie nights, story nights, family bingo, and family fun nights.
Traditions are important to us and we have several. Each November, our third graders host the Millridge Primary Thanksgiving Day Parade.
We draft a plan and create our balloons for the parade.
Each spring, our entire school community is given a copy of the same book and we all read it together. Everyone from the bus driver in the morning to the custodians at lunch are talking with the students about the book. This has been an amazing opportunity for our school community to share a love of reading.
Our learning gets enhanced through visits with some of our school's local partners. We have partnered with groups such as the Playmaking with Children class from WestCon, the Danbury Women's Club, and the Hat Tricks.
The Danbury Hat Tricks taught us about hard working and never giving up.
Jack Drake, the Danbury weather guy, taught us about his job and the technology he uses to predict the weather. We work with our neighbors at Westside Middle School too.
During the holidays, our school staff, families, and local businesses come together to help provide meals and gifts for our community.
Each day, our young learners are working to bring the Danbury Portrait of a Graduate attributes to life.
We are learners.
Our students love learning new things and grow their literacy and numeracy skills every day.
Our teachers are learners too.
They work collaboratively and share powerful instructional practices.
Our diversity team helps us learn about and celebrate the many cultures that are represented in our school.
We are learning to work with others, to be active listeners, and respect different opinions.
We are teaching students how to have productive conversations that push their thinking forward.
We practice in enrichment in classes run by our library media specialist, Ms. Stewart. During this time, we are given STEM challenges.
Our students communicate and collaborate as they persevere to complete each task. Even when our students are engaging in play, they work together to come up with imaginative solutions to problems.
Our teachers ask us to work together to solve problems in math and science. We also work together to solve problems in our school. It is our vision that
Millridge Primary is a safe place where all students can and will reach academic mastery.
every student, every day, no matter what.
So what is ClickUp? ClickUp is an all-in.
So that's just a peek into what school is like at Millridge Primary. questions?
Michelle, I just want to say, first of all, thank you to all of the staff that came out tonight. That's an amazing, amazing display of support, and it really speaks to the culture that you've built in that school, especially coming out of the pandemic. You know, I've had a chance to go work in Michelle's school and just there recently doing some rounds and popping in to do a story. And I can't tell you how much the energy that's in the classrooms and the joy of learning that I see when I walk into your school. The teachers seem happy, the students seem happy. When you walk in, nobody misses a beat. When another adult's in the room, they're used to adults coming in and out all the time, and they engage so nicely with them. So I just want to say thank you for all that you're doing at Mill Ridge, and again, thank you to the staff for coming out and supporting your school.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, hey guys, Mill Ridge is where both of my kids started, and where, because Mill Ridge is why I'm here today, sitting on the board, so thanks, lady. But it's such an amazing school, and I'm so fortunate, that my kids were able to go through that school, and I was in there twice last week, and it's just so amazing. It's just fantastic. And I don't know who had more fun being there on Friday, me or the children. Every time we turned around, it was like, oh, let's take a picture, right, Michelle? So I just thank you guys for all that you do, and I just hope that all the other children in the district are just having an amazing time, just like the children at Mill Ridge. So thank you. Thank you so much.
Love you.
Lauren came with a giant armadillo, so it was hard to The police officers had to read it after her, and they were like, oh, I have to follow the armadillo. Thank you for giving us a chance to show you our school.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to move on down the agenda with public participation. The board welcomes public participation and asks the comments be limited to 3 minutes. The public may offer objective comments of school operations and programs that concern them. The board will not permit any expressions of personal complaints or defamatory comments about Board of Education personnel and students, nor against any person connected with the Danbury Public School System. Just a note, if you have a comment, we as board members and the acting superintendent does not dialogue back and forth with you. If you have a concern, and the decision will be made to contact you or have a discussion with you. Thank you. First on the list is, I think it's Caroline.
Yeah, I'm sorry, my name is
Okay.
not that great. Hi guys, my name is Caroline Stanton, and I am a member of the Democrats Club at Danbury High School. And so our topic for this week that we went to the meeting for is mental health. And I think a lot of things, not just mental health, but just like student personal hygiene and student general morale. It stems back to funding, as all of you are probably aware and supportive. But the main thing that it stems from is specifically more than just funding, is having proper administration and enough guidance counselors in the school, because our guidance counselors have over 100, the national average for how many they should have. We are incredibly understaffed. I believe there are 2 crisis counselors and maybe 1 school psychiatrist, and we have about 4,000 students there, and that's really unproportional, and that's really not right, especially considering that a lot of Danbury is low income, and being low income and a bunch of other factors can really weigh on the morale of a student. With our counselors we do have, some of them are helpful and great people, but at the same time with their workload, they're not really able to put as much focus on some students' issues as they should. My personal example is I had an issue with another student where many things happened, but one of those things, she literally talked to other students about her plan and how she wanted to hit me with a car. And when I went to the administration about it with this issue, I was told to not worry about it because what are the chances of that happening? And it was really discouraging, and it really weighed on my mental health for a while. I think that if she was shown consequences, which she wasn't, then I would have felt like safer and like easier throughout my school day. I spent a lot of time thinking about it that I wish I didn't. And while I don't think that the counselor and the admin who handled it are inherently bad people, I do think that they made this decision based off of the circumstances which they work in, because there are more issues at DHS that can be pressing on them. Like, there are a lot of fights, and there's a lot of disciplinary stuff, a lot of drug use and whatnot. And then in the midst of, college admissions at the moment, the counselors probably have a lot of stuff to go on where, like, if something isn't necessarily like a physical issue, it wouldn't be as pressing and it wouldn't be taken as seriously. So if we had more counselors, it would be way easier to deal with like all the issues and like handle disciplinary behaviors earlier. Because I also think that DHS does not do a good enough job of addressing disciplinary problems early on, and that's how it escalates to be as far as like physical fights all the time, and destroying school property all the time, breaking laws on school property all the time. And in addition to not just like bullying issues, I think that having more counselors and more admin would make them have more personal relationships with students, and it definitely would give them time to focus and increase the graduation rate and increase like employment after graduation and help them with a lot of other issues. And I think that they're not able to focus on students if they have more than they can handle.
Okay, thank you, and thank you, Carolyn, for bringing the issues to the board. Thank you. Amy?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Amy Couch, and I'm a senior at Denver High School and one of the co-presidents of the UNICEF Club there. In the past few weeks, navigating from class to class has been increasingly difficult due to the growing number of fights between students. They've become so frequent that sometimes I feel the need to change my route to school to avoid encountering the masses that surround them. And based on this, it's apparent that the need for more safety measures needs to be catered to. These fights have not only affected students, as even teachers have been caught in the crossfires of them. And I believe that the district can improve their allocations of funds, as many students, including myself, feel that they can be better distributed to address the safety concerns at our school. These underlying issues have instilled a fear and an uncertainty among the majority of the student body. And just today, there was another fight in the school where some students near the conflict were terrified as the sound of the slams in the lockers were easily misinterpreted for gunshots. One half of the classroom was centered to the back because they were in fear, while the other half were just totally confused about what was happening. The classrooms on the other floor of the building were also disrupted in the process, as people from downstairs felt that it was similar to the sound of a stampede. An increase of police officers and safety advocates would do nothing other than foster student safety. They can collaborate and proactively identify any underlying issues and sources contributing to these problems, whether through mediation, counseling, or interventions. And their simple presence not only prevents potential conflicts from arising, but also provides a sense of reassurance for student and staff alike. The current allocation of funds within the district seems misguided because the majority of it is apportioned toward funding the academies rather than addressing specific student needs at DHS. While investments toward the academies are undoubtedly important, the safety and well-being of students and staff should be the district's utmost priority. By distributing funds to enhance security measures and support systems for students facing behavioral issues at school, we can create a safer and more conducive learning environment for everyone. As students, I feel that we deserve to all feel safe and supported in our schools, and that it's imperative that the district takes action to address these safety concerns and prioritize the mental states of everyone within their community. By working together, we can create a safe space where everyone can thrive academically and emotionally in the upcoming years. Thank you.
Thank you. We want to hear your concerns. We're asking that you at least abide by our 3 minutes, okay? And then if there's no one else who wants to speak, we can come back around if you want an issue to bring before the board, okay? I don't want to stop you in the middle of your, bringing your concerns to the board. But we're trying to have our agenda in a pattern so we can move on with the other item on our agenda. But again, if no one else wants to speak in within a time frame, we will let you come back and continue with your presentation that you want to bring forward. Thank you. I have another Caroline, I think. Okay.
Hi, my name is Caroline Lavelles and I'm a sophomore at Danbury High School. For the term of mental health in DHS, I think that DHS needs to do a better job in focusing on the mental health of their students. I think that mental health is a very important topic and that everyone should prioritize mental health. Students especially should prioritize taking care of their mental health because staying in school for almost 7 hours a day for 5 days a week is tiring and stressful. If a student's mental health is not properly cared for, then there would be negative results. Poor mental health can affect a student's learning in a bad way. Students may be distracted more easily or might be difficult for them to concentrate in class and in their studies. Students need support so that they know that they have someone there for them. Not everyone at school has someone at home that will support them in their school, what they want to do in college, what they want to do in life. So students need care because or else they might act out and start problems at school. Students might start to show aggressive behavior and a rude attitude towards the teachers and peers. Not only do students need support, but they also need to know that they matter. Many students also are facing difficulties with their mental health because of the expectations that are shoved onto them. Expectations that come from parents and teachers that compare students to other students. When students don't meet the expectations that are forced onto them, most of the time they experience depression and other mental issues and health. DHS have created programs and times at school where students can relax their minds. In these programs, things such as coloring, listening to music, meditating, and other things that help calm the mind should be available to all students. If DHS focuses on helping students' mental health, then they will have students that are active in their school learning and that are happy. Happy students mean a happy environment. When DHS provides their students with the right support and care, then they will have students that are ready to engage in the class and school activities. Students don't have time to think about their mental health and their well-being because they're using their time to try and maintain their grades so that they can make it to college and get a good job. Danbury High School should do more in helping its students' mental health so that everyone is happy, everyone is safe, and everyone is doing well at school.
Thank you. Marty?
I'm Marla Mitchell and I'm a junior at Danbury High School. As many do, I have my off days. I have my off days where I shut down and I don't act like myself and I don't want, or better said, can't do anything. Sometimes I'm just too tired to do the things that I love and I have to do the assignments because if not, I fall behind in my education. I used to be a straight A student, now I mostly have A's because I still want to meet the standard. Honestly, I'm tired, and it's not a tiredness that's sleeping it off or shaking it off, just it won't fix it. And many of our students in Danbury High School struggle with the same thing with their mental health. Many believing that they cannot speak to someone or take their mental health day because when they come back, that gracious 2 mental health days per semester, they are just overwhelmed with the workload. And when they do decide to take mental health days, oh, I have a test in class, oh, I have a quiz, I have a presentation. It's exhausting, it's draining, and right now, today, Wednesday, I don't know if I can make it to Friday and still complete all my assignments, as everybody at Danbury High School does. A lot of students struggle with mental health, and there's not a lot of counselors and resources that can help a lot of students because, for example, I didn't even meet my counselor till this year because they are so busy with everything else. And I do not blame them for that, but they do have a really huge workload. That's why I'm asking of everyone to, instead of pushing students to their wits' end, provide more mental health counselors that are certified, give more outreach sources to children at Danbury High School, give more training to counselors who are already in the building to help with their mental health. People in Danbury High School, they need resources. And also, please try to specify in the handbook that the student should be given this absence day as their absence and give them the day to rest because a lot of students need that. And instead of shutting them down and making them go back to class, give them better resources to reach out to others. Thank you for your time, and I hope that you'll take this into account.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Mackenzie Pielko, and I'm a sophomore at Danbury High School. The stigma around mental health is something that has greatly affected me for years. I know there are so many high schoolers who can agree with me. When my mental health started declining in middle school, I was too scared to say anything. When you've dug yourself so far into a hole that you can't even reach out to your closest friends and family, it's so difficult to get out of it. I was a straight-A student my entire life, the smart kid who was involved in clubs, theater, and sports. I loved school, and I used to throw a fit when I was sick because I couldn't go. Sorry, Mom. Over the past few years, none of those things were important to me anymore, and nobody understood why because I didn't know how to talk about it. We're tired, mentally and physically. I get home at night, whether it's after theater, dance, or hours on hours of therapy, and I'm too exhausted to talk to my family, let alone get my large load of work done. Some teachers understand when I tell them what's been going on, but taking a step to advocate for myself when the stigma around teens' mental health is so thick becomes too heavy a weight on my shoulders and many others. In a school with over 3,000 kids, close to 4,000, I know that it's impossible for everyone to have constant access to support from counselors, but honestly, some of the best support I've ever gotten was from teachers like Miss Lorenz, who has taken the time to listen and help however she possibly could. We need more teachers like her, teachers who care. We need a space where we can feel safe and heard without the fear of being judged. Ideally, more counselors would be the best case scenario, but it's definitely not the easiest. So, sitting here today, I urge you, please allow for more accessible training for teachers regarding mental health. Teach them how they can lend a helping hand and be lenient when counselors aren't available. Too many of us are just searching for a reason to get up in the morning, so give us one. After all of this, I ask you to please consider my recommendations, and I thank you for my time.
Thank you for your time. Heather?
Y'all know me by now, Heather Lorenz. First of all, thank you. When I was here, it was almost a month ago now, I know that I was heard. I know I was heard because Mr. Seelig, you showed up in my classroom here. Mr. Alameda, I heard you were in the building. Dr. Casimiro, you've been in the building multiple times since then. So I know my concerns were heard, and I appreciate the follow-up. I invite you all
all to please come see what it's like. Even if you've been in DHS before, I guarantee what it looks like right now is very different than what it looked like a year ago, 2 years ago, so on and so forth. Sorry, I have tears in my eyes because I was not expecting it before. Nevertheless, there's a group of students who are here tonight, and as you've heard, talking about mental health. And I just wanted to say that we have, they are so right on the money. Our teachers' workload is overwhelming. Our counselors' workload is overwhelming, and it's been overwhelming for a long time. Since I've been at DHS, it's been overwhelming, and I know it was overwhelming long before that. If you think about it, there are 180 school days, right? If they saw one student for an actual, like, real meeting during our flex class, for example, a 30-minute meeting, they'd only get to 180 of them. There are many students who never see their counselor until their senior year. And then there are many that really need mental health support, especially since COVID. It's 10 times worse than it was before COVID.
1 minute.
Our counselors need a smaller caseload. They need to be able to have time to run small groups to address student needs for a variety of reasons. So again, along with my concern about safety, I'm asking once again the board to consider about putting more financial resources towards these needs for our students and also our staff. Thank you so much, I appreciate it.
Thank you. This ends the list that I have that people signed up to speak. If there's anyone who would like to speak, I'll give you 2-3 minutes and come real quick, 3 minutes.
I really just decided to speak on the spot, so sorry if there's a lack of structure in what I said. I'm Kaylin Alexander. I'm a junior at Danbury High School, and I'm here to talk about like the counselors at the school. I think that we do need a lot more counselors than we do have, like especially with mental health counseling. Like I remember in my freshman year, I did my freshman counselor. She pulled me like 2 times to talk about my mental health, and like, well, I do appreciate the effort that she put in to like, she read some of my work and like noticed that I needed some help. But with like the time we had, it was only like short 15-minute meetings, and it really, the conversations that we had weren't personal enough for me to really feel like I could open up, and it really didn't feel like it solved any of my problems. And with mental health days, I'm not certain on this, but we only get like 2 or some days, and like even when you do take them, with like the amount of classes that you have that day that you're missing out on, it only creates more stress because then you have to work on catching up with whatever classes that you missed, and so like it's just like an unending cycle. You never feel like it's not even worth taking a mental health day. And with like because I have like a different counselor now than freshman year, and she has like over 100 students. I've only met with her like once, and she doesn't have enough time to really like get to know you. And with like, this is a little separate from mental health, but like like I feel like she doesn't know me well enough, and some colleges have begun to like require letters of rec from like counselors, and so if she doesn't have like that connection with me, even like let's say a teacher, she wouldn't be able to write like as well of a recommendation, and that's been something continuously on my mind, and I just feel like
1 minute.
yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say. I think that we need a lot more counselors.
Thank you, Kate. This closes our public participation part of the agenda. We're going to move on down to if anyone would like to leave before we get into our agenda, you can do so now quietly before we start. But we're gonna move on down to consent calendar. I need a motion.
Make a motion that the Board of Education approve the items on the consent calendar, exhibits 24 through 37, 2437 through 2443 as recommended.
Motion made by Martin, could I hear a second? Seconded by,
Okay, then, there's one issue, there's one minutes that needs amended.
yes.
February 14th, 2024, regular board meeting, 24-41, page 4, number 7. No, I should say, not number 7, number 6. Opposed was not Teresa Bazay, but Larissa. And I voted yes for the budget.
Motion has been made. That I need a second. And we will ask that the minutes reflect the correction when we have our next board meeting. Okay? We'll have this report that we have that correction made in a document that will be provided for us at our next meeting. Okay?
Thank you.
All those in favor of the motion and the correction to be made, could I hear aye? Aye. Motion so carried. Donation.
We have a donation, to accept a donation in the amount of $2,350 from Chestnut Market Shell Giving Pump Program to Danbury Public Schools in accordance with 24-43.
Motion was made by Louisa. Could I hear second? Seconded by Michelle. All those in favor of the donation, could I hear aye? Aye. There's no opposing. We want to thank Michelle. We want to ask her to stand up and come up, and we want to say thank you, thank you, thank you. Now I'm going to turn this over to the acting superintendent.
It's Mr. Alvaro, sorry, correct?
That's me, yes.
Thank you. We want to thank you for coming tonight and thank you for your donation. And if you want to talk to us a little bit about how you selected the Danbury Public Schools and how this came to be, then we would appreciate it.
Okay. Good day, everybody. My name is Alvaro. I come from Chestnut Market. So this program goes every October. If you guys see a purple pump in one of the chestnut shells, is every time you fill it up or you fill the pump, some cents from each pump, each gallon will be donated to the schools. The schools, we've been doing this for a few years now. And well, I'm happy here to present you guys with this. Hopefully, it will be used.
Thank you. You're very excellent. Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, do the picture over here by the,
But Gladys.
oh.
Like,
Yeah.
No, that's fine. I think it's fine.
In a way?
We're coming.
Thank you.
Oh, Gladys, where you
Mike? Contact.
Again, thank you for the donation. Okay? Do we have any of our student reps?
Hello. Good evening, Board of members, cabinet, and committee members. Thank you for allowing me to represent and speak on behalf of the Alternative Center excellence. Joanne Tolles and the Ace Journalism class would like to invite you all to check out our new articles in the Alternative Times. The Alternative Times can be accessed at acealternativetimes.com and on Twitter as @AceALTimes. Last night, the ACE staff hosted our Quarter 3 Parents Night. It was a nice opportunity for parents and students to hear about upcoming opportunities and events, and after, be able to sign up for individual meetings with staff members. The 11th grade SAT testing day will be held on Thursday, March 21st. A special thanks to Kyle Tricola, who's the ACE SAT coordinator, and all the staff who are proctoring the SAT. Good luck to the 11th graders. Also on Thursday, the 21st, Katia Pieragostini has organized a field trip to White Memorial Conservation Center. This opportunity is for all 9th and 10th graders. The seniors at ACE will go on a tour of the NBCC Danbury campus and the Waterbury campus with Diana DiNardo and Anthony Hellman on Thursday, March 21st. A special thanks to Scott Farrell for organizing the tour for our students. Thank you all for allowing us to share what is going on this holiday season at ACE. Have a wonderful break and stay ACE strong. Have a nice night, everybody.
Wait, Kate, wait. Are there any questions?
Oh, wait, yeah, sorry. Are there any questions?
I want to say on behalf of the board, Kate, that for the last year and maybe two, you've always shown up. And I'm glad for the board. It's so easy to stay home and say, yeah, I have this position, but I'm not gonna go. I got homework. You have shown up every time.
I love representing my school with you guys.
That's awesome.
And thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you so very much.
Have a nice night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Administration? Educational staff representative, I'm sorry, I'm moving ahead, I'm sorry. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. Good evening, good evening. Before I begin, I just wanted to thank the Danbury High School students for coming out and speaking tonight and really showing their vulnerability and speaking from their heart about a critical need in all of our schools to add more counselors and supports for our students. And not just those facing mental health crises level, but the everyday issues that pop up. For kids to say they've never even met their counselor when they're entering their senior year, we're doing a grave injustice for our students. So I thank them all, and I thank Heather for coming out and supporting her students as well tonight. And I want to thank you all as well. Thank you for your visits to our schools during Read Across America Week. We want to let you know how much we appreciate seeing your presence in our schools. It really helps connect all of us in our mission together. Please know that you have an open invitation to visit us. We welcome it anytime. We want you to see all that we do, the little miracles that we create each day, the countless success stories, the expert instruction and relationships that we build. But we also want you to see the things that don't make it into the photo ops. Our extreme challenges, the hardships, the hurdles, the unsafe working and learning conditions, the critical staffing shortages, the supply and resource shortages, the overcrowding, and the overcrowding, and the escalating, dysregulated student behaviors. We invite you to join us for a day, a full day of shadowing us, all of us. That's how it's best to see and understand what's really happening in the schools. While we love having you come in and read stories for Read Across America Week, you really need to see the whole picture, beyond the pages of a report or in a meeting. Please reach out to me if you're interested in seeing a particular grade or school building. I'll pair you up with a teacher that's eager to show you their world and show you the world that their students experience. A day in the life of a DPS teacher. And speaking of a day in the life of a DPS teacher, let's talk a little bit about the Mayor's Community Advisory Committee. So several board members, DPS teachers, retired DPS teachers, and even a few admins are joining me and other appointed community members as we work to address some critical issues in education. Thank you to Board Member Canetta and Harris, as well as Principal Donovan, Ann Mead, Megan DiNucci, Emily Pardalis, Sandra Navarra, and Patricia Villela for working on this labor of love for our school and for our community. So what is this committee that we're on? Well, we're tasked with using a think tank approach to problem solving in the areas of student achievement, sites and facilities, and teacher recruitment and retention. And then we're tasked to put recommendations forward to the mayor. So we're uplifted and challenged by this lofty work, and in my own subcommittee, we're working on teacher retention and recruitment, an issue that's near and dear to my heart. Our team has already identified several key areas in need of our focus. Respect and value of teachers, safety of course, trust in district decision-making and school finance, morale, student escalating behavior and working conditions. These are all among our top identified areas of concern. Just before the meeting, I received a report from teachers at Broadview Middle School, and they were asked to kind of report back to NEA Danbury on how the new changes the changes in schedule, how they've impacted learning and working in Broadview Middle School. And they actually are a real great microcosm of the work that we are going to need to do with the committee. I've got an actual document here, it's like 15 pages long, but I just want to highlight a few of the consistent issues that come up that kind of work will go hand in hand with the work we're going to do on our committee. So one of the questions that was asked of the Broadview folks, the teachers, what most impacts your ability to teach at Broadview Middle School? Overwhelmingly, they said the high enrollment and lack of space, overcrowded classrooms. That came up over and over and over and over again in the report. What most impacts your students' ability to learn at Broadview Middle School? Over and over and over again, overcrowded classrooms, no co-teachers in bilingual classes, space, predominant issues over and over and over. The question was asked of our staff at Broadview, has the newly implemented schedule helped with overcrowding? Actually, the staff is reporting no, it's done the opposite. They report that they used to have somewhat manageable class sizes, but now their smallest class size is between 24 and 26. That's their smallest class sizes. Some of the class sizes are upwards of 30. Another question was asked, the When What I Need Now block was implemented at Broadview Middle School. And teachers were asked, is this showing effectiveness? How are the students responding to this? And the teachers reported that they're really struggling, and the students are really struggling because many of the teachers that are instructing this class aren't certified to teach reading intervention, and they're finding that the interventions are also overcrowded in many cases, and they don't have the resources they need, the computers they need, the technology they need to implement it with effectiveness. So, there's reoccurring themes here that kind of show the issues that we have in a lot of our schools, and Broadview is that real microcosm of what's going on. I won't just talk about the negative, because one of the questions was, what's one thing that's positive going on at Broadview Middle School? Of course, kudos go out to the staff that put together the Annie production last week. I don't know if any of you got to see it, but that was an amazing collaboration of the students and the staff and showing all that's wonderful at that school. And they also report that the administration is very supportive. They report that the administration at Broadview Middle School is open to hearing their concerns, open to working with staff and students to problem solve when problems are brought to them. So that is a positive, and that just shows that they're working in the right direction. Are there any other concerns? And the answer to this was miles long. I'll paraphrase quickly for you. Air quality is something that the teachers at Broadview continually talk about. They talk about closets where supplies are covered in mold, active growing mold, something that's just reprehensible. They talk about their classes being impacted by the size, and over and over and over again, just give us a working copier, please. We're desperate. We have teachers reporting showing up for school an hour and a half early just to make copies. Just to make copies. There's a line for the one working copier when it is working. So again, things that they need to do their day-to-day work. I wanted to kind of go back to that sense of teachers not feeling like they have all they need. One of the teachers commented, and then it kind of listed a whole follow-up from many of the other respondents. And by the way, it was a huge responding population to this survey. One person said, this struck with me as an educator. They said, many really good teachers have left our school this year, and I'm concerned that more will leave at the end of this year. Will Broadview even have enough teachers to open for the 2024-25 school year? Will anybody even want to continue teaching at Broadview? That's where we're at. That comment kind of hit home with me and kind of made us talk as a community of educators on the problems that we really need to face are really becoming at that crisis level. So getting back to that microcosm, know that that's not just a Broadview thing. You heard from Danbury High School students today talking about mental health and lack of support and lack of staff members to address their needs. So we look forward to sharing recommendations that our team is coming up with to the mayor and eventually to the board as well, of course. But finally, with all these things on the horizon and all this work we need to do, I wanted to make sure that we mention tonight, we know that the board is in the process of hiring a search company to select a new permanent superintendent for our district. NEA Danbury looks forward to working with the board in collaboration with this process. I'm sure you know that the best way to have teachers buy into decision making is to have all stakeholders take part in the process. By including teacher voice in the process, you'll send a powerful message to teachers that you value us, that you value our recommendations as educators, and that you share our vision for moving Danbury Public Schools forward. What a better step to retain our great teachers than to have them take part in that selection process. So I hope you consider that. And thank you so much for listening to me once again this evening, and I'll see you next month.
Thank you.
So we move on down to agenda, action item 10A. Yeah,
Yes, I would like to make a motion.
after you speak into the mic. Turn the mic on, speak into the mic, please.
I would like to make a motion that the Board of Education accept the second reading and adoption, the update codification as recommended by the Policy Committee in accordance with 24-44.
Motion made by Al, could I hear a second?
Second.
Seconded by Louise. Any question concerning the motion? Seeing none, all in favor, could I hear aye?
Aye.
Motion so carried. Action item B, Michelle.
Policy 0200, Board of Education Goals. Motion that the Board of Education accept for second reading and adoption of the revision of Policy 0200 with the updated 2023-24 goals, SY goals, as recommended by the Policy Committee and in accordance with 24-45.
Motion made by Michelle, could I hear a second? Seconded by Teresa, in discussion on that policy. Seeing none, all in favor, could I hear aye?
Aye.
Motion so carried. Action item C.
Policy 0521.2, commitment to religious neutrality. Motion that the Board of Education accept for second reading and adoption policy 0521.2, commitment to religious neutrality as recommended by the Policy Committee and in accordance with 24-46.
Motion made by Teresa, seconded by Kate. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor, could I hear aye?
Aye.
Motion so carried. Action item D. Dr. Cronin.
Yeah, wake me up, so my deep milk. I guess you can hear me. D, Policy 2000, Administration Basic Concept Motion, that the Board of Education accept for second reading and adoption Policy 2000, Administration Basic Concept, as recommended by the Policy Committee and in accordance with 2447.
Motion made by Dr. Cronin. Could I hear a second to that
Second.
motion? Seconded by Learn. Any questions concerning that policy? Seeing none, all in favor, could I hear aye?
Aye.
Motion so carried. Action item E.
I make a motion that the Board of Education accept for second reading and adoption policy 2100, administrative staff organization, as recommended by the policy committee and in accordance with 24-48.
Motion made by Lauren. Seconded by Mr. Janelli. Any question concerning that policy? Seeing none, all in favor, could I hear aye?
Aye.
Motion so carried. Action item F.
Policy 2131, Superintendent of Schools. Motion that the Board of Education accept for second reading and adoption Policy 2131, Superintendent of Schools, as recommended by the Policy Committee and in accordance with 24-49.
Motion made by Louisa. Could I hear a second?
Second.
Seconded by Al. Any discussion on that policy? Seeing none, all in favor, could I hear aye?
Aye.
Policy G.
I make a motion that the Board of Education accept the second reading and adoption policy 2131.1, appointment of designee for superintendent of schools, as recommended by the policy committee and in accordance with Exhibit 24-50.
Motion made by Kate. Could I hear a second to the motion?
Second.
Seconded by Lauren. Any discussion on it? Questions? Seeing none, all in favor, could I hear aye? Aye. Motion so carried. Policy number H.
Make a motion that the Board of Education accept for second reading and adoption Policy 2231, Policy and Regulation Systems Policy Manual, as recommended by the Policy Committee and in accordance with 24-51.
Motion made by Juanita. Could I hear a second? Seconded by Teresa. Any question concerning that policy? Seeing none, all in favor, could I hear aye?
Aye.
Motion so carried. Mr. Janelle.
Motion that the Board of Education accept for second reading and adoption policy 2400, evaluation of administrators and administration, as recommended by the policy committee and in accordance with 24-52.
Motion made by Mr. Janelle. Seconded by Michelle. Any question concerning that policy? Seeing none, all in favor, could I hear aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion so carried. Richard Hall.
That the Board of Education accept the January 2024 financial report as recommended by the Finance Committee and in accordance with Exhibit 24-53.
Motion made by Mr. Hawley.
Second.
Seconded by Al. Any question, discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, could I hear aye?
Aye.
Motion so carried. Action item K.
I make a motion that the Board of Education recommend to the City Council to update the members of the School Building Committee, Danbury Career Academy, to reflect new board leadership members: Gladys Cooper, Board Chair; Louisa Britton, Sites and Facility Committee Chair.
Motion made by Al Amita. Could I hear seconded? Seconded by Kate. Any question concerning the motion? Seeing none, all in favor, could I hear aye?
Aye.
Motion so carried.
Can I ask one thing? Are the old members off?
Yes,
Okay.
this is a new list that the
Okay.
interim superintendent will submit to the city.
Okay.
Motion number L.
Motion, the Board of Education authorizes the chairperson of the Board of Education and the superintendent of schools to approve the final plan, specifications, and cost estimates of Phase 2 of the Danbury High School Science Lab Improvements Project, and sign the SCG-042 form for submission to the State of Connecticut Office of pool construction grants and review for approval as recommended by the Sites and Facilities Committee and in accordance with 24-54, 24-55, and 24-56.
Motion made by Michelle,
I second.
seconded by Al. Any questions? Yes, Kate?
Quick question, I apologize, I was late to the Sites and Facilities meeting. Do we know if there, any of the science teachers were consulted in the layout of these laboratories before the plans were finalized?
So, the question was, just so your voice, was whether or not teachers were consulted in the process. And so we did have our department chair, Dr. Barbara Bogart, who's most closely familiar with the science needs there. Maybe not a broader teacher sweep of input, but definitely they work very closely with Mr. Donovan and the science leaders. Thank you.
Any other questions? All in favor of the motion, could I hear aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion shall carry. Action item M.
Official naming of new career academy building at former site of Pardis. Motion that the Board of Education approve that the new high school building at the former Pardis site be named Danbury High School West as recommended by the Sites and Facilities Committee.
Motion made by Teresa, seconded by Kate. Any question concerning the motion? Yes.
So my question is, if we're renaming the high school that, there's a middle school there too, what's the name of the middle school? Because the middle school, we already have a west side middle school, so.
Sure. So this is the sign that represents the high school side of the building. So this is going to be so just the way we'll have a Board of Education, there'll be a signage for Board of Education. This is the sign for the high school side. So the whole campus is not just the Danbury High School West. That is the west. That would be the west campus of Danbury High School. But there will be the Board of Education and other programs there as well.
I understand that, but is it somewhat confusing to have a west side middle school a mile or 2 miles away and then have Danbury High School West? Would it different, like Danbury High School on Apple Blossom or something along those lines? You know what I mean? Just because, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I can't remember quite who was in the room when we had a conversation, but there was a lot of, consternation around naming it the Danbury Career Academy because of the conceptual.
Right, I get that we're trying to bring the two, the two campuses together, but it just concerns me because if we have West Side Middle School Academy and then Danbury High School West, it just, and then we're having a middle school there too, I think it's just so confusing. Just throwing that out there for the group.
I understand. Thank you.
Yeah. Not yet, we haven't finished this one. Yeah. Yeah, we have to vote on this one.
So, is there any other question concerning the high school? Yes.
I believe that the sign is just to put on the side where the Danbury High School portion is going to be.
I understand that,
But I think.
With the signs. $250,000 worth of signs.
Again, I don't know.
It's not just the sign, I don't think.
But I think they're also gonna do something with the middle school. That's my understanding.
I get that, I know it's not the Danbury West campus, but I don't understand why we're naming it Danbury High School West if we already have a building named West Side. It's just too confusing and too close in my head for families coming from out of the district to, my son goes to West Side Middle School over here on High Ridge or where, and then, oh wait, I thought the West Campus was on Apple Blossom. I think the names are too similar. Again, in my opinion, just throwing it out there. Yeah.
And it's just a sign, it's a continuation from Danbury High School. I mean, the way the career pathways we're going to have, that's just a carry on. You know, I did question Mr. Donovan when he was here about that, okay? Because they're gonna have a principal in that location. And again, we're not gonna go into that discussion. But, you know, I'm okay. I don't see a problem. I understand what you're concerned, Lauren. You're right. There is a west side, okay?
Right.
You know, what are you gonna name them? Danbury, Danbury Kenosha? Danbury High School Kenosha? I mean,
Well,
really?
it's not on Kenosha, but yes, I understand what you're saying.
But I think, from my understanding, is that there's gonna be a bigger sign on the street that's gonna have more of a Board of Education concept because the board is gonna be there, or some of the new position. Am I correct in moving?
It's my understanding, there's gonna be a couple different signs.
Right, so-
You do have the Board of Education, they're gonna have an entrance there.
Correct.
There'll be another programming at the middle school level there, and then at Danbury High School, which is the,
So if there's gonna be another sign on the street, then why wouldn't we just have the sign on the street and then have a sign in the building that says Danbury High School?
I'm actually not sure if there's a sign on the street, so that would, we have to check that one. This was really the sign, the sign on the building.
Yeah, maybe this is table it until we know what the logistics are, because I don't know. Again, I know we all have to vote, we all have our opinion, but I just think it's just getting, I get it, I get we're not, you know, but I just feel like we already have a school, you know?
Well, you gotta say west though. You gotta say west.
Yeah,
Looking at
I-
West Connect, you get confused.
I think the conversation that Mr. Donovan brought here when we talked about this is really, and I hear what you're saying, Lauren, but we all talked about and asked questions that, you know, he wanted to make this not be just their career academy, we want to bring into Danbury High School, and he came up with the name Danbury High School West. So, you know, if we want to table it, or move on, we take a vote and move on, or table, whichever. Yeah,
I don't know, because I'm not sure when those, what the timeline is, the timeline for when this has to be in, which was imminent. Well, I think Antonio had to, Dan had to do the change, varies, like, it was, the window was closing.
Right.
Which is why they had to have the sites when they did it. But I'm not 100% sure, so that's what I'm asking.
I don't have the exact timeline, but I know this is due to the state in pretty short order, so I don't think there's enough time to.
I would table it to get more clarification.
Let's take a vote.
Yeah,
See if we can take one. Let's take a vote.
Then you come back and we mistake the time.
Mr. Janelli has one.
So, yes, Richard.
Kara, if this campus is gonna house the Board of Education, it's gonna house the high school, it's gonna house the middle school, I would suspect each of these facilities are separate in the state, and therefore, whatever aspect or physical location middle school is at that particular point, you create a sign and call it whatever you want for the middle school. So this is, you know, basically, I don't think it's the assumption that this whole campus is that, at least that's my.
That's correct, that's my understanding as well. So there'll be multiple, there are multiple signs from my understanding. You know, Mike the Board of Ed has its own sign and emblem, and we talked about those things being, as part of the package. So there are different programs that are gonna be there.
Yes.
When you say different signs, are you talking like there's gonna be a directory down by the entranceway that'll, like, one, all the separate?
Right,
schools?
it's my understanding that there's the Board of Ed area, the entrance is different than some of the other entrances, different entrances to the building, and that there'll be signage, you know, according near those entrances.
Will there be anything down by the street entrance as it goes?
That I don't know, we have not talked about the street signage,
Okay, so
but
this isn't, we're
This is
talking
for the
about
building.
just something.
this is the building sign.
The
Yep.
building.
Okay.
Yes, Michelle.
Thank you. So the name of the middle school at that campus at Danbury West, what is that name going to be? Will it have a totally separate name? Because I understand what Lauren's saying. If it's not so much just driving, I could just be new to the area and not know that Danbury West has a middle school, that west side is down the street, and that there's a middle school on the west campus. So if I'm new, I can see where somebody's like, oh, the school at West Side, or at the west campus, or the middle school. Like, I totally get what you were saying in the sense of, will then the middle school have its own identification? A different
So,
name?
so the name that was submitted to the state as part of the original package was the Academy of Innovation and Design. So it was its own middle school design. So that's what was submitted to the state at the original time of the application. So that's a separate area.
So the middle school is going to be a separate academy, is that the name, or are we?
Well, that was the name that was submitted to the state originally. So I know there's been a lot of, consternation about the middle school in general and the cost of it. So I think, right, I think that there, that's the sign that was submitted to the state, the name of the program that we submitted.
So aren't we trying to, didn't we already submit name for the Danbury Career Academy? And the reason that we're changing it is because we are ready to go to print and we've made that determination. Have we not decided what's happening in middle school?
Yes, so they have not asked me much about that middle school signage, just the Board of Ed and that other sign. Because the only one that was changed, there was a change order on for discussion, was the one that said Career Academy, Danbury Career Academy. So it's my understanding that unless there's another change, that's the sign that will come for that portion of the building.
But the middle school and the high school, all that is going together and will be opening at the same time, right? There's no delay or anything.
Not that I'm aware of.
Because I would think if you're gonna go out to print, right,
Like
literally signage,
Yes.
you would be doing it all at the
Yes.
same time.
Yes.
So I guess my question, if we're gonna continue or table, that would be one of the ones I would want to
Yeah, I mean,
also.
if we can get a guarantee that Mike, it'd be good, maybe you could text Antonio or Dion on the timeline, so if this group feels more comfortable about the name and wants to talk about it, happy to do so if it warrants further conversation, so long as we have the appropriate time to do that. Okay. We may have to come back quickly to react if the time closes on us.
Yes. So the motion's on the floor, the motion's been made, Terry would have to withdraw the motion, and then we would table it.
So it would either be easier for, if you want to table it, table it.
Table, unless, table motion, table number, letter N.
You have to withdraw.
You have to withdraw your motion.
I so withdraw from this motion.
I need a motion to table this.
Motion to table?
Second.
Seconded by Lauren, motion made by Michelle, seconded by Lauren, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I abstain.
Action item N.
Gladys, I abstain.
I want to discuss this one.
And Richard too.
Correct. Abstain, please.
Lauren.
Hold on. Who abstained?
Only Richard abstained.
No, two
Both
Richards.
Richards.
Two Richards.
Please.
Two Richards.
I told you. Okay, so, action item N.
Item N, motion that the Board of Education approve the district plan for increasing diversity in education for submission to the Connecticut Commissioner on or before March 15, 2024, in accordance with 24-57.
Motion made by Dr. Cronin.
I second it.
Discussion, seconded by Al. Any discussion on the motion? Yes. Yes.
My first question is that it is my understanding that this has to be submitted by tomorrow. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And so it is just coming before us now.
Actually, with all due respect, it was on the last agenda, but we canceled the meeting due to weather.
Okay. So perhaps it could have been something that could have been sent out to the board so that we could review it. That's number one. Number two, on the second page, This, I'm not sure that this document is specific to Danbury Public Schools. So on the last page, I'll start with who manages the goal. And so the other ones all have a person's name on there. So can we have the name of the person put on there, please? The Chief Strategy Officer. Can we have the name? So if you look at the box under who manages the goal, she is the Chief Talent Officer. On the next page, it is the Chief Strategy Officer, but no name. Okay. So I just think that that should be put in there. Underneath the goal, where it says create additional incentives for retention of educators of color who reflect our demographic diversity. I'm not sure what that means. And so I would need some clarity on what you mean by incentives. When it says some clarity on what, create a professional learning community, what is that? By when? Other sections have this school year. I would be interested in having a date on there, even if it's for the upcoming school year. And then where it says risks and mitigation, just about every single one of the goals. Lack of enthusiasm or participation among building level staff. What could go wrong? The risk, inadequate time and attention, lack of robust cooperation across school buildings. Insufficient numbers of students of color entering the pipeline or securing certification and placement into Danbury Public Schools. Budgetary constraints surrounding costs of maintaining as many as 4 residents throughout the program and post-completion. So I am a little concerned because we are all under budgetary constraints. And so I just think that that's too easy to come back to say that goal was, we were unable to accomplish that goal because of budgetary constraints. If you know that beforehand, then let's not make it a goal. Let's have a goal that you know that you will be able to at least put your teeth in during this school year. You have school year 24-25. The hire certified staff who are educators of color and reflect the demographic diversity of our district. This has been an ongoing goal for I don't know how many years, and yet it continues. I'm not sure that what we're doing other than continue to develop and expand existing teacher pipeline program in Westcott. Is that where we stop, at Westcott? Identifying students of color for teacher prep programs and working to improve postgraduate placement? How are you gonna go, what are you talking about? This is just so vague, nothing specific, and I'm baffled. This is an unacceptable report to hand into the state by tomorrow. Danbury should be ashamed of itself to say that we have a working diversity plan. And the risk is What could go wrong? Insufficient numbers of students of color enter. Hello? We already know that. So what are you going to do to go out there besides WestCon? Where are the other solutions? We need some momentum here, is what I'm trying to say. And you say secure up to 4 teacher residents, placement of increasing numbers of pipeline graduates into positions. And then it says engagement efforts. Certified staff will need to be engaged to support mentoring component of the book. If you can't get them, WestCon and Danbury High School administrators, particularly through new Danbury Career Academy, it's not here yet. Focus on developing educators. When? We need them now. As I said, this has been ongoing and every year. I don't know what you presented to the board before, but this is inappropriate, inadequate, not targeting.
Kim?
Yes.
You have any more questions on him? Do I need it?
I do. I'm not done. Thank you. And so, it also states that senior teachers and administrators of color will be consulted for design and feedback on appropriate and meaningful, putting it on who? What? Why are we putting this on the backs of our teachers again? And so the risk is finding substitutes for release time for participants in the cohort. We can't find substitutes now.
Is there a response or
Yes.
is there, what happens if this plan is not presented tomorrow?
Sure. So if I can just back up for just a little bit, because I do think it might be helpful to talk a little bit about the background, which I've been talking about for about the last year. As many of you will remember, we sent a team to a CREC-sponsored program that was multiple weeks in which we explored with educators through CREC and the State Department of Ed the issue of increasing diversity in education. The purpose of going to those multiple sessions with our team, which was made up of the superintendent, Dr. Zelina, a member of NEA Danbury, Terrence Cunningham, and myself. The purpose of attending those multiple sessions was to flesh out the content of a plan to be put into this chart, which is what is mandated to be submitted by the State Department of Ed. So they have produced the template, and we worked with that team at CREC to put together a plan that met the requirements for the commission. Certainly, it is not in each category comprehensive given the size of the document. But let me talk a little bit about what we focused on in those meetings. We have had a pipeline program which has been recognized as one of the most effective ways to bring into our district teachers of color who are homegrown. It's something that has been demonstrated regionally. It's something that's been demonstrated here. And in fact, in the sample on how to complete this document, the State Department of Education points specifically to that pipeline program that was started many years ago with Dr. Glass. One of the goals, and in this plan, is to talk about how to harness the successes of that to increase the number of teachers of color that come into the district through the pipeline. One of the problems that we've experienced with that program has been difficulty in having those candidates pass the praxis so that they can get certification. And so my team has been working with TEACH to make sure that we have a robust support plan for some of those teachers coming through. That's what that first goal talks about. The second and the larger one, which touches on your concern about funding, is the teacher residency program.
It's something that this district has been approached on multiple times. We have often rejected it as being cost ineffective for us, but now there is a multiple year funding source coming from the Department of Education, from the legislature, to fund initiatives to increase educator diversity. The reference in this plan to the teacher residency program, TRP, is exactly that. And so what we've proposed to do and what we've submitted in conjunction with this plan is a grant proposal for up to 4 of those teacher residents to participate in the program. We will work with the rest to go ahead and find those people. We are also looking through our own resources, through our own folks, paraeducators who have bachelor's degrees, who are interested in continuing education, particularly in shortage areas, particularly teachers of color. And we are going to harness those with this grant money to use TRP. That's the primary goal in the first category here of recruitment. The second goal on hiring and selection is in fact one that's going to take us a while to meet the goal. And that is one that, again, working with Pratt, we looked at our data on the numbers of teachers of color that we've been hiring historically. And this board knows that every year, come February, March, I come and I bring you demographic statistics on how we've done with the incoming cohort. And in fact, we have found that the numbers in incoming of teachers of color well exceed those of the state. So we're doing a pretty good job, not a great job, but a pretty good job in attracting those teachers to our district. What I found in looking at our data is a concern that because we have such a decentralized hiring process in the district, where every building hires their own folks, that I was seeing that candidates of color seem to be falling out of the pipeline right around the interview and recommendation for hire stage. So I have proposed in here as a goal to convene a task force that's going to take a while to marshal all of the processes that are going on in all of our many buildings, to pick those best practices, and to try to create some sort of continuity of hiring so that we can target and address the data problem that I see of what kind, the numbers of teachers of color that are popping out of the interview process and coming to be recommended. So that's that second prong. The third prong, because we felt that it was important that we talk about retention strategies. These are newer for us, these ones that are proposed in the plan. And in fact, proposing the PLCs around that is our hope that we can put together and meet a dual goal of providing a cohort for teachers of color and administrators of color in this district so that they can have space to talk with each other, but also providing learning communities for them to talk about professional development and things that may be important to them, and to use what we can of that grant money. And again, that's referenced in here, the grant money for increasing educator diversity, to go ahead and harness resources to bring into the district. It is a very, very common criticism of us that our administrators don't get the PD that they need and they don't have the PLC time that they need. And this is one place where we think it's important to push in some resources. So that last goal on retention is one that we continue to work with. It's going to depend on whether the grant money gets extended to us. We also think that in light of the budget constraints that we know we're going to face next year, it's important for us to put some resources up against providing this as a retention strategy. We know there's a difficult climate out there, and we're trying to find ways to go ahead and address it. And the use of subs, we have enough subs now, it's just a question of whether we can pay for them or not. And so we have a pool now of about 250 subs. They have dramatically increased the coverage of absences across the district so that our fill rates are now in the 80s and some building 90th percentile of absences in a given day. The concerns coming out of the building, which were dire last year, are quieting some. We're not at capacity, but we are much better than we were. And so if we can use this grant money to go ahead and dedicate some sub time so that we can pay for the subs that we have to go ahead and push into these PLCs, that will be the goal. So while I appreciate your concerns, I do think that this template is what was given to us by the state, so we're trying to work with them. What happens, Ms. Cooper, if we don't, there are no teeth in this statute, so there is no penalty for failing to submit something tomorrow. However, I think it would be ill-considered to not submit something tomorrow, and there is a provision in the statute that the commissioner reviews the plan and provides feedback. I would submit that some of the feedback that you've provided today may very well be what comes back with the commissioner, and that we engage in further dialogue with the commissioner on whether or not this meets the basic standard. This is the first year that this plan has had to be submitted by law, so this is everybody's first crack at it, and what we have tried to do in crafting it is to leverage what's been working, try to make it better, and to expand and to harness that grant money that this year is about $270,000, but next year is likely to be considerably higher, and the following year considerably higher. We started at somewhere closer to $1 million, and then there was a revision downward. So we're going to have the funds to do this, and that will allow us to make the details of this plan more muscular.
And so can you speak to the incentives, please?
In the retention incentives?
The goal is to increase teacher recognition.
So that first one actually is building on a program that we started, Mike, was it 2 years ago? About 2 years ago, the Teacher of the Year program. So the first year of the Teacher of the Year program, we felt it was very important to provide a vehicle for recognition of teachers. Morale has been very difficult post-pandemic, and this was something we identified as a priority. Year 2, it became bigger and better. And in this year 3, even bigger and better, so that we are trying to continue to highlight the places where we can recognize strong teacher achievement. And that's what that first goal is, to continue to build upon what we've got. I don't think that every goal in here needs to be new. A goal can be to make better something that we already think is working. The other incentive on retention for us that's important, it will be for things like mentoring, and that's what we hope to take money from the grant to push in some stipends or monetary incentives to go ahead and build the PLC and build a mentoring piece. The TRP program has embedded in it a required component that we pay mentors as well. So it pops up in several places.
And so that might be one of the risks, is not getting the mentors. And the other thing is, by when? Why would we not have this school year's date in there?
For the TRP, for the teacher resident mentors?
For the goal 3, on page 3, the third page. Incentives, recognition.
Right. Well, and this is one of the things, to be candid, that we're struggling with on the grant, is that in order to submit a grant application to be accepted, the boxes are requiring us to put in the names identified of teachers and their EIN numbers. We don't have them identified yet. And what the agreement with TRP is that we will work with them through May to identify eligible candidates that we can then select to be teacher residents in the program, and then we would appoint the mentors. So this is the delay, is really, we will accomplish it by the end of this year in terms of identifying those teachers, but their residencies will not start until 24-25. So we pick them, we screen.
So May of '24, we have to identify the cooperating teachers and any potential candidates in our district currently. And so we'll select them, we'll partner them together to make sure that we're forging good partnerships between them. One of the areas that we've highlighted as an area of need is special education, as we see significant shortages there, bilingual ESL teachers, but we are open to any teacher residency that is coming in. And then in the fall of next year will be when the actual coursework, mentorship, and partnership goes into full effect.
Okay. So we know that our incoming teachers are assigned mentors.
Correct.
Correct, to the district.
Mm-hmm.
And so is this an additional mentor?
So sorry, I didn't.
The teachers that are assigned mentors that come in through the TEAM program are teachers that already hold Connecticut State certification. This is a little bit different because this is someone that is coming in through a residency program, meaning very similar to an ARC program, meaning they are obtaining certification as they are working with their mentor. So this partnership would be slightly different. They're going to need a little bit more support initially, and then they will filter through the TEAM program once they obtain their certification.
So this goal is only for the teachers coming in under the residency program. And are we looking at the whole person, social, education, their career, and psychological? Coming into a system, are you doing anything to look at the whole person and address the whole person culturally coming into this system?
That is the goal, and one of the reasons that we had also looked, and I heard your earlier comment on obtaining support from teachers. While we definitely don't want to put this on the backs of teachers, a big heavy lift on this is with our administration through supporting and attracting the right people to Danbury. But we also want to make sure that we get feedback from our educators that are currently working with us and are in the trenches, and so that we continue to build supports around our new educators that are coming in. So that we can make them successful, we can make them feel and thrive here, and want to stay here with us.
And so when you talk about incentives, and one of the goals says that certified staff will need to be engaged to support the mentoring component of the program, are they being paid to do that mentoring?
Yes.
And is that, okay, that's not.
They are being paid a stipend, and in some of the, so there's a more detailed grant piece that goes into the state, and in that each stipend is outlined, and actually, as far as there's a minimum threshold of which an educator needs to be paid that stipend.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Are there any other questions? Michelle?
Can you just speak to the hiring and the diversity and the pay, the differences? I'm just a little bit concerned about that. Like, I think, I don't have the page number that Anita referenced, but it had to do with hiring, maybe a higher salary for diversity hiring. So in other words, of Latino, whatever, it's not coming to it. You know what I mean?
Okay, so I think what you're asking is, can we change at all with compensation the demographic of folks that we bring in? Is that what you're asking me?
No, I was just asking, are we going to be paying more for diverse teacher recruitment? I thought that's what you had mentioned. I thought that's what I had heard, and if so, what could you explain?
So the union contract with teachers mandates what we can pay teachers, new teachers that come in from out of district. So we don't have really latitude. What this is talking about in this plan is teacher residency. So these are people who have bachelor's degrees who are interested in becoming teachers. In the special ed context, if there are folks that worked for us, for example, as para for 2 years, they are DSAPable, so they are eligible for a permit. They can come into this program, and they basically they're working under a mentor teacher. They're teacher residents, but they are going to be considered under the program the teacher of record in that classroom. So those are the folks that there are certain components of the cost of that program. Like, for example, there's a tuition component that we have to pay. There's the mentor stipend that we have to pay. And we pay these teacher candidates, these teacher residents, a salary. It's not as high as a certified teacher, but we pay them income so that they are not hamstrung by having to work as a para during the day, and how are they possibly going to be a teacher resident? So what this program does is it pays a salary to these folks so that they can be basically working teacher residents. They can earn an income, and then they're getting their certification so that they're a teacher of record, and then they're fully certified teachers. So all those components are what is made up of the teacher residency program. We will get grant money to cover a lot of those costs. And the legislature continues to tweak how much we have to pay, but it's a little bit prescriptive. So that's why it says up to 4. That's all we can fit in the budget.
And so is there, any time that they have to sign to a commitment to the district after going through this program?
Yes, it's a two-year window, so we have to guarantee that we will have a spot for them for 2 years.
But are we requiring, we'll have a spot for them, but they may say, you know what, I'm gonna go to Richfield.
For those 2 years, it is tied to the monetary amount that the district is supporting through this grant for schooling and so forth. So if they were to breach that, it'd be a
No,
violation.
for
of
those
the
2
contract.
years of training.
Correct.
After that, they can choose to work for Danbury, look at the salaries, look at the, right?
Just as another teacher could, yes. that's
Okay, that's, yeah, I just wanted to, okay, thank you.
Which is why their retention.
Okay.
Any other questions? This motion has been, the motion was made, I'm trying to remember who seconded.
Al, Al had second, what, the number N?
No, number N.
Mary? No, I
Ms.
did that.
Cronin
Al.
made it, Dr. Cronin made the motion, Kate seconded. We had the question session, all in favor, could I hear aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? Opposed. Okay, so we have one, motion so carried. Superintendent report.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Cooper. I just want to say thank you to our board members. March is Board Member Appreciation Month. So Karen Pompano did a great job of assembling some nice little gifts for our board members with their names on it and some chocolates, which are awesome. So thank you very much for your service and all the nights that you put in and school visits. We really do appreciate that hard work. We know it's probably always more than you thought you were going to get when you signed up for this role, but we appreciate you very much. Thank you. Kim, we'll come back to Kim in a second. She's going to give us a little update on some of the SALT forms. Some of that is linked into, actually, if you're ready, to some of the things that our teachers have mentioned in previous meetings as well as tonight. We certainly appreciate their commentary and appreciate their concern, and it's appropriate to talk a little bit about some of the response to that. Okay?
Thank you. So we did over the last, it was probably the last year or so, that the union was really raising concerns for us about teachers being injured in the course of their job. Not like a workers' comp injury, but significant dysregulated behavior by our students. Students of all kinds, including those who have been identified with special needs. And teachers were really being hurt. And so one of the things that popped out of that escalation was that NEA Danbury created a form. They called it a teacher assault form. And they used that to describe what the incident was, to get the attention of the administrator that they may or may not have otherwise gotten. And part of what was behind that is that in Connecticut we have a statute that says that if you are a teacher and you are assaulted, that the district cannot take your sick time when you're out with those injuries. And there is scant, as in very, very little law, and it goes kind of in each direction. In some cases, the assault needs to be intentional behavior. In another line of cases, it can be unintentional behavior. And so there's kind of a jump ball about what the legal term means in this context. So rather than go to continued escalation about that argument, we worked very closely with NEA Danbury, and Erin and I worked very closely on trying to address how to encourage the dialogue between an administrator and an injured teacher. Is the administrator working with that teacher on, for example, a teacher who may get hit in a classroom in front of all of the other students? Well, is the administrator's response, we're putting the kid back in the classroom and figure it out? Or is it, do you teacher need some time to be out of the room? Do we need to have a reentry plan for the student? Can we talk in more detail and make sure that we hear you, teacher, and that we are working together with you to come up with an appropriate plan?
So the form that we worked on together, that we've now approved, actually has a couple of pieces to it. One is a form with boxes in it for the teacher to be able to describe the circumstances. One is a box that talks about the administrator response. What kind of a reentry plan did you have? What did you talk about with the teacher? And then it's signed at the bottom by the administrator. It's going to get forwarded over to Callie's office for kind of holding on to it so that we can review them and talk about them. But the second piece of it is a flow chart that says, you know, if you are injured, it looks a lot like what we used for substitute coverage before. If you have a physical injury, make sure you file an incident report. If you don't have a physical injury but you need time to talk, you kind of go in this way. So a visual aid for our teachers and our administrators to follow along. And then the third piece is the workers' comp karma form. We rolled that out to administrators on 2 different admin council meetings to workshop it with them. Is it something we can all work with? Are we all on the same page about how we want to complete it? Can we come up with a scenario and walk through how you would use this form to respond to it? 2 different occasions. It's now been distributed out to the buildings. And I worked with Erin to make sure that she had a full set so that she is also distributing it out to the teachers. We also can use it for non-certified staff. And it really is meant to be the vehicle by which we enhance communication between the injured person and the administrator. So that was the genesis of the form. I think we were all happy with how it turned out. I think you may have heard Erin at the last meeting, she talked a little bit about how we collaborated on this form. So it's now rolling out and we're going to see how we go with it. We're going to continue to work with our administrators at admin council meetings, maybe do one scenario every meeting or every couple of meetings to see how we're using it. So sorry if that was long-winded, but that's the point of this.
Thank you, Ken. I know your team worked really hard to get Milk off on that, so thank you.
So once these incident reports are filled out, who makes the final determination as to, was it an assault or not?
Right. So I think, and this is sort of a complicated, there's just not a lot of thought. We have found, for example, you saw some teachers that talked about a fight at the high school where some teachers were injured. Well, you have SROs up there, you have police officers up there who are making assaults, who are passing on assault charges when they identify that that's the result of an assault. And there is some case law that talks about, you know, a student who swings and misses and hits a teacher, and that is something that with older students is an assault. The more difficult cases that we're going to struggle with are the super young kids, the K-5 kids, particularly those with identified special needs, are kids that may have autism, maybe on the spectrum, kids that may be very dysregulated. Those are harder because the law really isn't clear about whether it's an assault or not. So we're working with administrators to make that decision. There's lots of dominoes that come from that. You know, do you make a report to the police on a K-5 student who's dysregulated and identified? So those are harder, and those are ones we're making centrally with the administrators input.
I do think, though, just to piggyback on that, is that the genesis of the form really was to liaison with better communication with the staff member. Oftentimes, you know, in education, we're all about the business of kids, right? And so the immediate attention was going to the dysregulated child and helping to return and re-enter them into an appropriate setting, potentially convene a meeting with family, possibly a PTA meeting, and so forth. And then the next step was to follow up with the teacher. And this has kind of put both, so both are equal priority on the table at the same time. So as Kim has indicated, the assault piece does become a little bit complicated, particularly when we're talking about a young student or a student with identified needs. But I think that kind of aside, this vehicle has allowed us to have more in-depth conversations to address the students' needs and the staff members' needs. As you can imagine, it's emotional for a teacher that has been bitten by a first grader, for example, particularly if that incident or event happens in front of other students or other staff. And so this has kind of equaled the playing field that we attend to both students' needs and staff needs. And then, you know, Kim and I consult frequently along with building administrator, the party involved, and sometimes the union involved, if there's, you know, decisions that need to be made from there.
Thank you. The next item is really just a brief update from me to the board on some of the groups that I've been able to participate in most recently, and one of those is the Danbury Collective Impact. that I'm sure many of you are aware of, and some of you are participants on. I've had an opportunity to sit in this new role as on the advisory, which I greatly appreciate. And I was invited to the Chronic Absenteeism and Student Engagement Working Committee, and then also most recently the kickoff for the entire collective, which was recently at Family and Children's Aid just last night. So that's it seemed like a couple days ago already. But that was also a wonderful organization event, and basically the collective is several community organizations that come together to leverage the assets in the community. The United Way, Civic, the Every Public School System has many different movers and shakers on the committee, representatives from all of their organizations that are working together towards creating improvement structures for students. So the three big committees in areas of focus and priority are chronic absenteeism and student engagement, early childhood education, and then a committee for youth and mental health. Some of that which is very appropriate and timely given some of the things that we've heard most recently. So super important work, and I look forward to providing updates on how we're partnering with that larger body over time. The next one is really having recently attended the Danbury Area Business Collaborative board meeting. It was wonderful to reconnect with some of the folks in that group. Alexis, who's the new director, was reporting out on some of the work that's currently happening, but also some potential future work in supporting the academies in the terms of mentorship for our students. So currently they mentor, they have over 100 mentors now working with our students throughout the district. If you've ever attended the DSABC breakfast, you've probably heard some very touching stories about the relationships that have been built over the years. It's a super important group that works with us, and we thought it would be a great opportunity to bring them in to one of our subcommittees, the curriculum committee, for example, for them to reintroduce themselves to the district and talk a little bit about their work, the importance of that, and then eventually talk about the future relationship that we'd like to grow with them over time. So that would be on March 27th, so we look forward to that. The last thing I want to just mention here is that in the back of the room, if you're wondering who's still left here hanging in, that is the Parent Supporting Educational Excellence class that is in attendance tonight. We have Natalie Dupree, Christina Casey, Thomas Sheridan, Lois Dempiro, and Gina Allerton, if I mispronounced your name, please forgive me. And the course facilitators are Patrice Nelson, who you may have recognized from the portrait of the Graduate and Community Conversations a while back, and of course Melissa Cruz and Ann Mead, who's always involved in all of this work. I had a pleasure of presenting to their class last week, and we had some great conversations about the budget and how those things are developed and formed. And really, this is a group that's learning about how school districts functions, how policies are made, and how they can build advocacy for our parents in the school system. So super important work, and it was a great collaborative, fun group last week. So thank you for being here, and just wanted to give you a shout out for coming to our board meeting tonight.
Thank you.
And that is it under that section. I can go on to information unless there's a discussion. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Just an item under discussion, and I think we're gonna eventually have to maybe have a workshop, and I have to set aside some time to really talk about how the governor has come down and given us idea as far as how we're going to deal with cell phones in the school. Okay, and I think that we need to talk about that at some point as a board. Okay, and it's gonna be like getting rid of sports. So it's on you. But I think it's just something that we need to discuss, because if he's going to support it, not we have to support it, but we need to talk about how we're going to take a stand and what we're going to do.
Yes, just a couple questions. Kelly, it's nice to see you back.
Thank you.
We've missed you. So, Heather had mentioned when she was talking to us about contacting her if we wanted to do a school visit, can you just remind the board how school visits work? Gladys, how we do those?
Well, number one, you set up your appointment, you call the superintendent office and let them know what school you want to go to. She will call the school and tell them that to expect you, and then you visit the school. You just don't get up and say, I'm going to Hayes, I'm going to you know, because anything can happen. They can have a lockdown. You're in the school, you don't know what's going on. Superintendent, no one knows you're in the school. So let's be respectful as to how we go about doing that, okay? And I know we all want to get in and see what's going on, and then sometimes we need to talk about it. But sometimes you need to be careful as to who you're talking to, okay? It's a good thing to do.
Sorry, I have one more
Go
thing.
ahead.
And then can somebody explain to me maybe the difference between the mayor's committee and the brainstorming group about the ideas for the schools and all that versus what the actual Board of Ed does? Because I'm really confused. I'm kind of frustrated, I guess.
Yeah, thank you. I'm sort of confused too, because I did not know he had appointed two people from his board to. Let me finish. I did not know until she had presented it. Okay, so that's the only thing that I'm saying. Is it a committee that the mayor formed out of City Hall? I would assume so. So again.
The mayor solicited the community for participants in what they're calling a community advisory committee. They've got 7 different areas of the community that they're trying to get some feedback, I really think, from the public and use it as like a think tank. So come up with some ideas, come up with some actionable steps, and, you know, let us know what you're thinking about. I don't get the impression that there's direct action that's going to necessarily be taken. That's not the impression that I get, but they're looking to get feedback from the community about what the community's talking about and thinking about in these areas and what they think needs to be done and what they could possibly do. So, you know, other than that, like, there's not a whole lot of structure to this organization. Basically what they did was put an application and people applied to participate, and then they selected committees based on the folks who signed up.
So I guess maybe my question would be is how did the information get out as far as getting who was going to be selected? How did you get was there a form for you to fill out that you wanted to be and he just selected certain people he wanted to send the information to?
There was an article in the News Times and a reference to, there was an article in the News Times explaining this particular process.
Okay.
Gathered by the mayor with a reference to the city website so that if you are interested as a public citizen, you can sign up and select any one of these categories.
Okay.
And then they would, however number of candidates they had in the committee, would go through and select individuals.
Okay. Thank you. I'm just trying to understand
Yeah,
because like I said,
a public notice of it, and I think there was some other conversation about it.
I don't read the paper because, you know, it's $3 and $4 and it's only about 2 sheets in there. And you can't even, the print is so small, you can't even read it. So, you know, hey, I get what I can. I used to pay that money faithfully, but no more. Okay? Yes, Michelle.
I saw the ad in the Facebook.
I can't hear you.
I saw the ad in Facebook and that you would sign up, but is it the public, is it elected officials then? Like, did it break out into different groups? Like, is there a board member who's on that committee? Anybody? You don't know now, no?
Well, he just said once, Aaron just said.
So Juanita is a member of the committee, not serving as a board member. I am the advisor to the group, but not serving as an official board member. I'm just there as a resource so that I can try to connect people with information.
Thank you.
You gonna move on? Okay, go.
A little bit more.
I'm sorry, Lauren, did you finish? I'm
And then,
sorry.
I don't know, it's concerning to me that they're out there in the community thinking of all these grand plans for the Board of Ed. And I just don't want there to be a misnotion that they're gonna come in like other members of the community or the community in general, thinking that this separate entity is going to come in here and present all these grand plans they have, and they're gonna present them to us or not present them to us, and we're not gonna have the follow-through because they're not members of the Board of Education, who are the body that yays and nays. I don't know, I'm just concerned, very concerned about this whole thing.
And the bottom line is still gonna be money. So whatever recommendations that they're gonna provide to the mayor is still gonna come down to money, so.
Michelle?
I
Meaning-
tend to think as a new mayor, I'm sorry.
Meaning that whatever recommendations the committee or these citizens, right, to better either the education, whatever downtown, whatever, is still gonna come out with, they're gonna need money to spend, and they don't have it. So if they don't have it for us, for what we're trying to do, how are they gonna find money to do other things?
Yeah, Dan,
I suspect that as a new mayor coming into the town, and I appreciate his thoughts on this, is that he opened up to the community an opportunity to the community to voice your concern on how we can improve things in Danbury. And therefore, whoever selected these subject matters, these 7 or 10 of them, it was done to basically talk about it and to see how within that category, and it was education, some other stuff, that things can be improved. I don't think it's anything different conceptually as Collective Impact is working on the project one of the projects to come up with ideas as to how to reduce the chronic absenteeism. They'll do that as a project and then possibly, and I would hope so, make a recommendation to the board so we can review it. But I think it's a good idea that the mayor did, is to have people feel that they're engaged in the community. And it was, I think it was a good opportunity to do that.
Metro?
I agree, obviously want to hear from the community. But the only part that I was confused is that they were looking to weigh in on the superintendent's hire. That's really right.
That was the teacher,
The teacher.
that was the teachers' union that wants to be part of it, that's separate from the
Okay.
mayor's.
Okay, so then maybe that's the part that I thought you were talking about. So I was a little confused because obviously there's 11 of us and we just met. So is that going to be something that gets considered when we are all
No,
meeting?
we're not gonna talk about that, not right now.
Okay, all right, so that's the part that I was a little confused on. Let me make that clear. Thank you.
We'll talk about that in executive session, okay? Any more questions?
Okay, just a little bit left.
Sorry,
That's
Karen.
okay.
I was just
A little bit quick. John, you gotta be quick. Do you want to talk a little bit about the healthy food certification that's gonna come up at the next board meeting?
Sure. It's a program we've been in for a number of years where we've agreed to follow the Connecticut nutrition guidelines. And in practice, that means that what you serve your students is from their list of healthy foods and there's some guidelines you agree to follow. And if you do that, you get an extra 10 cents a meal reimbursement from the state. For us, that's about $140,000. A number of schools are in the program. This year, there are 118 of the 169, and every school district that was in it last year signed up again this year. So it requires an annual certification, so we'll bring that back to you in the next meeting or so.
Okay, thank you. And then the last two items, just an announcement that the date for the CODA Festival, the Celebration of the Arts, is June 1st from 11 to 4 at Danbury High School. Musical performances, artwork, kids, crafts, face painting, ice cream, community, and bringing whole family. So this is the annual favorite. So we hope everybody can attend. And then the last one is the Danbury High School production of Mamma Mia, which is going to be great, April 25th and April 26th. There's some, and April 27th. So there's a couple shows there, and the tickets, you can get those on the QR code, and we have that posted on the website and a few other places, so. Yes, they do.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, then can we get a discount if we
We
all
can
go?
probably get a better seat.
Okay.
Really? We got a discount?
That's all I have.
Discount?
Board chairperson report. Still attended the citywide PTO meeting along with other members. I'm superintendent. Having a very difficult time to find out when South Street have their PTO meetings. You know, I've been calling them, trying to make some kind of connection with them, and it seems like no one knows when they have their PTO meetings. So I haven't heard anything for the last 2 weeks. I just got tired of calling. I was put in contact with the liaison person from Citywide PTO, who did not have a very friendly attitude. So I went to South Street and did it on my own. So I'm still going to attend the meetings and do what I need to do. I attended the collective community outreach program was it last night? Last night. And Michelle and some other people were there. And I thought it was a beautiful affair trying to connect the community. And I thank Dr. Mead and all of the people that was there. It was just fantastic. Okay? Chairperson, committee chairpersons of this board members. When we get ready to have committee meetings, I will ask the chairperson to select someone to take your minutes. I will no longer take minutes. In order for me to read all the other information that I need to read, take minutes, have a conversation, take the minutes, have a conversation with Karen and get it out there. I need your help to have someone, you have 5 people on your committee. One of those 5 people can take minutes, okay? So, you know, it's just an extra load that I'm taking on as far as trying to go places and do things and be on Zoom to represent this group. So I'm just gonna ask you to help move that process a little bit along. And I also wanna thank that all the committee work that our committees are doing, policy, budget, and everything, because we put together tonight, and I didn't think it was gonna work that easy, but it did, it went okay. All the exhibits that we had to share in tonight and adopt those exhibits. Okay. The last thing I want to think, and I know this does not always come at a particular time that you would like to come, expulsion hearings. Okay? We know that we need 3 people to do those expulsion hearings. You don't have to be able to get on Zoom, but you can do it from your phone. Okay? We need 3 people at these hearings. And I think it's very unfair to Kara and her staff to constantly send out emails saying, I need 1 more person, I need 2 more people. And we all, things changes in our life. We all know that, and we don't know sometimes when it's gonna come up. I don't mind filling in. Thank God I can fill in. But I don't want to be the only one filling in all the time. Okay? So I need you to step up. And you guys know that these have to be done. When that kid is out 10 days, that expulsion hearing has to come after that 10 days. Okay? So keep things on your calendar. So I hope that we continue to work together, move forward, and be positive, and do what we need to do as board members when we got out there and running for election. My last little thing, please read this from the 24th state agenda from Kay. There's some information that will help us for board members, your, Board of Education ethics, okay? Board of Education professional development, And see, I love to read, but you know, I got to read Glenn's thing because I got a phone and so I'm gonna try to run out to this meeting. So there's a lot of good information that we don't need anyone to come down and tell us that we need to act like this for board members. It's in these flyers and the information in the brochure that they sent us. So take time to read it. Okay? Lastly, I hope we continue to work together and be a positive group. Okay? If there's no other questions, I entertain a motion to adjourn.
I make the motion to adjourn.
Motion made by Al, seconded by,
May I ask a quick question?
yes.
Folks got a quick email from Kara Pompano about the Family University that's happening March 23rd, which is a week from Saturday. I've heard back from some of the folks at the board level, and I really need to hear from everybody, please, even if it's a no, just so thank you so much.
What is it? Could you?
23rd.
Family University, March 23rd. Kara sent out an email, it's got a sign-up Word document.
She sent out about a week and a half. It's over a week ago.
Kate, I'm away that weekend, so you know.
March 4th it went out. I just want to make sure we have coverage, thank you. Even if it's a no, just let me know. Thank you.
Okay. Motion was made by Al, seconded. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.